Draft day is finally here. All eyes are on the young guns that are expected to be ushered into the league with picks 1 through 30 waiting to be made and some big trades already made in the past couple of days. We are going to be looking over the top 30 picks in the first round with some trades thrown in there and looking at not only which teams can get some pretty good fits on their team, but also which picks I think will happen. We'll get into all of it in today's episode of the Holmes Field Advantage. Welcome back to the Holmes Field Advantage and welcome to Draft Day. As always, I am your host, Brett Holmes, of the podcast, not Draft Day. I wish. Maybe one day, but there is a ton of stuff to talk about. I've praised this class multiple times as being one of the deeper classes I've seen in recent years and also one of the best defensive classes I've seen in recent years. And I still stand by that. I think this is a very talented draft class in a different way than others. Yes, there is not going to be a bunch of superstars, but we are still going to see good talent come out of this class. We're still going to see guys that are going to contribute to some championship contending teams because there are some guys that are picking in the lottery that should not be picking in the lottery this year. And then there are some guys who are waiting to finally make a step forward. And I think a lot of the players in this class that you'll see at the top end and the back end are guys that can help them get in that direction. So today, like I said, we are going to be going through the first 30 picks of tonight's NBA draft. Going to throw some trades in there. But before we get into the mock draft, make sure you are subscribed to the channel or following us over on Spotify. Say hello to Thor. I don't know why he decided to crash the one time I'm recording, and he didn't even end up staying on the bed, so it's not even going to like he's going to be in the background. But thank you for supporting the podcast. If you have been watching, if you are new to the channel, make sure you are subscribed over on YouTube and following over on Spotify. Like I said, share, like, support in however way you can, and let's get into this thing. Over here on Fanspo, using their mock draft simulator, I encourage you to crack one out right before the draft. Get yourself familiar with a lot of these talents because this class is not getting talked about as much as it should be. And yes, I know there is no Victor Wembanyama, and it is really hard for a class like this to follow up a class with a generational player like Wemby, but there are still really good talents in this class. I think a lot of people have said that the top talents in this class would barely even go in the lottery in other classes, and that's stupid. Klingon is a phenomenal defensive big. He's got great touch underneath the rim and is a pretty decent playmaker when you watch him on tape. And then obviously Alexander Sarr, Zachary Reese-Sachet, the top two prospects in this class for most people, not for me, but Alexander Sarr is the top prospect in this class. And this guard class is insanely good. Stephon Castle, Rob Dillingham, Nikola Topic, Devin Carter, Jared McCain, Carlton Carrington, Isaiah Collier, Tyler Kolek, all guys that could go anywhere in the top 15 or they could fall. And that is extremely good for one position class. There's also some pretty damn good shooting guards. Reed Sheppard is a very good prospect. And Reed Sheppard's a guy I think would go into the top 6, top 5 in any other draft class because this is a guy that does a lot of things well. Cody Williams is a great project. His brother proved why the combine is important and why offseason programs are important because they can improve your stock. And Cody Williams is a very developmental player, but he's got a very good mindset, a very good frame, and some pretty good skills. It's a guy that a lot of teams are going to want to have on their roster to rebuild or to compete. And that is the big thing with this class is that there are some teams like Memphis, Portland has a couple picks that maybe if Scoot shows out, they could do something. Hell, the Spurs could end up being a playoff team if they do well enough in this draft because they have 2 top 8 picks with 4 and 8. And then I also want to highlight some of the defensive guys. I said Alexander Sarr earlier, but one of the best defensive forwards in this class, maybe even the best defensive forward, is Ron Holland, and Ryan Dunn deserves to have his flowers. Ryan Dunn doesn't have anything on offense, but he is a very, very good defender, possibly the best defender. Ron Holland, I would give him the position of best defender. Then going back to the point guards, Stephon Castle's defense is insanely good. Same with Devin Carter. Same with Nikola Topic. It's not insanely good, but his defense is still good. And then obviously you can't talk about defense without talking about guys like Donovan Clingan, Yves Missy, Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware, a very hit and miss type of prospect, but when he is hitting, he is on fire. And then even the top guy in Zachary Reese-Sachet is a pretty good off-ball defender. Before the draft tonight, I do want to put this out there. I'm going to be live streaming my reactions, whether you watch it live or whether you watch the VOD after it's posted. I'm going to be reacting to the draft live and post that as an episode. And before that, I'm going to give my big board for my top 30 players, and not just going through the mock draft, but listing who I think are the top 30 players, whether I think they're going to go on night one or not. But without further ado, let's get into the first pick here with the Atlanta Hawks selecting. They've ruled out Alexander Sarr. Alexander Sarr never went in for a workout, and I think he overall just wasn't really interested in going to Atlanta, which is crazy. Because I guess he could see what they did with Onyeka Okongwu, and they haven't been able to have him flourish, even though he is a very, very athletic center and a guy that I think would flourish in a lot of other different situations, maybe even Washington. But Alexander Sarr was originally the guy to go here at first. But now it's Zachary Reese-Sachet or even Donovan Clingan. I don't see Donovan Clingan happen. I think this is going to be Zachary Reese-Sachet just because they have a question mark on what moves need to be made. They could trade away Trae Young. I highly doubt it. Or they could trade away DeJounte Murray. I think that one's a little more likely. I've said, from the beginning that this would be a very interesting pick for them to consider moving on from and getting more capital so they can address their depth and move on from DeJounte Murray. But they are still getting one of the best offensive guys in this draft class. Really good off-ball defender. On the ball, for me, he's a little unproven, but his ability to create his own shot off ball and on ball when it comes to his offense is enough for the Atlanta Hawks to consider taking him number 1 overall. I don't see him as a number 1 overall pick, and I'll get into that later tonight when I do my big board, but it's a good fit here for Atlanta. It's the guy that fits into their plans no matter where they end up going. So I guess it's a good pick if we're judging it based off that. But it's the pick that's been mocked for a while, and I've never agreed with it. There are some things I don't like about Zachary Reese-Sachet with his vertical and his hand size isn't that great. And he was very off and on. And I don't know if he's the type of guy I'd make too big of an investment on, especially with the number 1 overall pick. A guy I would make a big investment on is Alexander Sarr here, the 2nd overall pick. My Washington Wizards are hitting it out the park, and they got very, very lucky that Atlanta fumbled this. Sarr is going into one of the best situations for his development. He's not expected to be a superstar day one, but I don't think that's what this draft class is all about. That's not what this pick is going to be about. Sarr's defensive abilities are very, very good. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Triple J, and I'd be more than happy with having a Jaren Jackson Jr. type guy on this team in the future. He's literally just coming in to be our Daniel Gafford replacement, and he's going to be more than that, and he can be more than that. He shows the ability and the want to improve his shot at the 4, at the 5. It doesn't matter. This guy wants to stretch the floor. As a playmaker, he's probably not going to be much, but this is a guy that you're looking to get boards, to lock down the paint, and to hopefully improve his offensive bag. He's got good playmakers around him with Denny Avdia and Jordan Poole. A lot of people think Jordan Poole's not a good playmaker, that he doesn't pass the ball. And then Brian Keefe started using him in the way that Jordan Poole worked over at Golden State. And what do you know? Jordan Poole's out here making flashy passes, crazy assists, throwing it under guys' legs to get it inside. I think Jordan Poole is a good playmaker, and I think having a piece like Alexander Sarr down low is going to, I shouldn't say reveal that to people. If anything, it should exfoliate the fact that he is a good playmaker. And the same thing with Denny. Denny's a really good post playmaker, and having a guy like that right behind you or right on the other side of the basket to lob it up to or to pass it to, whichever way Alexander Sarr is going to eat. I love this pick so much for the Washington Wizards. For the Houston Rockets here, I'm going to go Reed Sheppard. This is a guy that's been mocked a lot to Houston. Houston is in love with Reed's game. This is a guy that doesn't jump out on the stat sheet, but when you watch him play, he does everything right. And with what Houston's doing right now, with the picks that have been traded around, if you're not aware, Obviously, Miles Bridges being traded to the Knicks will be talked about later, especially since they were able to keep 24 and 25. And with the Nets not having a first round pick this year, it really hurts them. So they needed to find a way to get a lot of those first in the next couple of years. And they did find a way to do that. But the Rockets over here also acquired all of the picks that the Nets acquired from the Suns trade that they made to deal out Kevin Durant. What's important about that? The Houston Rockets want to go get Kevin Durant. So the Houston Rockets are preparing a massive pick haul, maybe even some players for Kevin Durant to give the Suns a little bit of a chance to turn this thing around. I don't know if it'll happen. Suns are very, very reluctant to trade away Durant because they've made such a big investment into this core three. But the thing with the Suns is they've got no money to build their bench, so they need to build through the draft. And this pick could end up being dealt if Kevin Durant is traded. I would be stunned if Kevin Durant is traded today. But for the Houston Rockets, you're just trying to get pieces to build around some of the offensive stars that you already have, and Alperen Şengün and Jalen Green. Jalen Green's got a kid to feed, and having a guy like Reed out there to help him feed that kid is going to help. He is a fantastic three-level scorer, and he also moves the ball and goes get those boards very well for a guy his size. Great fit here. Maybe not, again, the best value here with it being the third overall pick, but it's such a good fit. I don't see Houston go with anybody else. I also don't see the San Antonio Spurs going with anybody but Stephon Castle. San Antonio loves Castle. The Wizards have also liked Castle a lot. Now, I highly, highly doubt, unless somebody trades up and goes to get Sarr, or if Atlanta shocks the world and picks Sarr, even though Sarr has not even worked out for them. That would be the only, time where I would consider him going higher than this. But Stephon Castle is going into a phenomenal situation. You're not expected to be anything offensively. You've got Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama, Keldon Johnson. If he can get a little bit more efficient with a playmaker like Stephon Castle, he will be better. And you've got three offensive pieces that you can get the ball moving to, and that will naturally open up opportunities for a guy like Castle. He's a big, stocky guard. The jump shot needs to translate to the league's pace, but he's also shot the ball very well in a lot of his offseason workouts. He was one of the biggest winners from the combine. He improved his stock a lot because he shot surprisingly well. He was very fast. Everyone knows how athletic Stephon Castle was, and he was barely showcased as the player he actually was in high school. And I think being able to flourish as a playmaker and slowly become a better shooter, especially under the wing of Greg Popovich, phenomenal fit for Stephon Castle. With the fifth pick, I've got the Detroit Pistons selecting Matas Buzelis. Now, I've been bouncing around between him and Dalton Knecht, and this is because Dalton Knecht's a better fit. In my opinion, Dalton Knecht's a better fit. They need a guy that can help them score buckets right now, and you don't need a question mark. Matas Buzelis is a question mark, but he has the potential to be the best player in this class. The thing with the Detroit Pistons is the guy who owns, I'm pretty sure, or is the GM for the Detroit Pistons, his son is Matas Buzelis' agent. And there has been a ton of talk between Buzelis and the Pistons and them potentially picking him up here at 5. I just don't see them not going with him at this point. All of the talks are pointing towards it. And this is a guy who has good defensive potential, played really good defense in high school, not that great a defense with the Ignite, but the Ignite didn't play good defense overall in general. His offense, especially his three-point shot, was very inconsistent, but you can iron that out. He got his first-year jitters, I think, mostly out the way in the G League. And I think if he's coming into a situation where he's expected to be a third or fourth option, if you're getting like 10, 12 points a game and like 5 boards out of him a night, I think that's a success. I think it's a success, especially for what you need him to be. You just need him to be a piece. You need him to be a piece that can rotate around some of these other wings and then see how he fits into your future plans. But as of right now, you need to convince Cade that Detroit is the place to be. And Matas Buzelis is the type of prospect to do so. With the Hornets, it's a very interesting situation for them with their center position. I like the talent that they have there. Mark Williams is a very good center when he's healthy. And Nick Richards isn't that great to be a starting center. He's a really good backup center, but I don't think he worked too well, obviously, because the Hornets haven't done much, as a starting center. So you need Mark Williams to be healthy. Are you going to bank on Mark Williams being healthy, though? And could you move on from Mark? Could you go out there and trade him and see if you can get capital on draft night or get capital later on in the offseason with a guy like Donovan Clingan on the board? You could also get a backup guard. Nikola Topic falling is in your favor. Devin Carter is starting to shoot up some boards. Rob Dillingham is a phenomenal offensive guy that can get the ball moving when LaMelo's not there. I think another guy that I brought up before, Dalton Connect, is in favor here because you don't have a lot of guys that are able to fit in as that stud third option, and Dalton Connect could be that. I just don't see how the Hornets don't go with Clingan here. It makes the most sense long term, and it makes the most sense now. Mark Williams can't stay healthy. You want to move him to the 4? Sure, go ahead. Clingan needs to be in a spot where he is surrounded by good offensive talent because he shouldn't be expected to do much other than what his stat sheet is showing right here. But like I was saying earlier, he's not that bad of a playmaker. He's actually got a pretty good eye when it comes to passing the ball. He's got good touch around the rim. The jump shot isn't really much to awe about. But, I mean, if he posts this line in his first year as a rookie, phenomenal pick. Or even just, maybe like 10 points and like 7 or 8 rebounds. That's all they would really need from him. They just need him to be a big body down low. And I think the Hornets would go with the security of this pick rather than trying to get yet another offensive piece and still suffer defensively. Donovan Clingan is a step towards the right direction, in my opinion, for the Charlotte Hornets. With the Blazers here, I'm going to go with one of the more developmental guys, but one of my favorite prospects in Cody Williams. Cody Williams was a guy that was expected to be in the talks of a top 3 prospect. This is a guy that was being mocked at number 1 for a little bit here. And he fell down a little bit just because a lot of people started to realize he doesn't have great volume over there in Colorado. He's got good efficiency, but he's coming off the bench. We don't know if a guy who's coming off the bench should be the first overall pick in the draft or even within the top 3. But the thing with Cody Williams is he has had a good offseason. He is still a very good prospect, good frame. I think he's got a great mindset like his brother. He is a go-getter. And I think as a rotational piece for the Portland Trailblazers, slowly being eased into a starting role, I think he has the ability to show out in his first year over there in Portland. With the San Antonio Spurs over here, with the 8th pick, they're in a very interesting situation. And I've seen this mocked before, and it would be a very, very interesting one. With Rob Dillingham on the board, they could double up on guards. Trey Jones is likely to be moved, and outside of Trey Jones, they have nobody at the point guard position. You could also throw in Rob Dillingham as a backup shooting guard, and you have a dog off the bench. I could see them doing this. I could see them going with Topic, maybe. I could see them going with a guy like Tijane Saloon, maybe even Ron Holland with with his defense and Tijane Saloon's overall future aspect. I'm pretty much torn between both Tijane and Dillingham right here. And I think with what I've seen from the Spurs, they've got good defensive forwards, but they don't have a good enough guy to throw into the rotation at the 4 or even as a backup center, but you don't really need to worry about that with Victor Wembanyama. I'm going to go with Tijane Saloon here. Saloon, another guy out of France. San Antonio really likes the developmental system that they have over there in France, and he's a guy that's got super long wingspan. I mean, you can see in the picture, dude's built like he's built like a bus. And he's a guy that I think very, very open book. But if the Spurs can get the right read on him, they can knock this pick out of the park. And he could be a guy that ends up getting into the starting rotation. Maybe not in year 1, but could be a very valuable player when the Spurs begin to compete. With the 9th pick, Memphis is starting to be questioned about if they want to trade back from this pick. And, I'm seeing some guys here that would benefit from being on different teams, especially when we're looking at the guard positions. Dillingham, Topic, Carter, McCain, Carrington, Collier, all of those guys are starting to be considered around this point in the draft. I would also not be surprised if they just keep it easy and go with Ron Holland and get some defense off the back. Just getting some guys in there that can rotate with some of the defensive pieces they already have. But, man, they need a backup bit. They need a big so bad. And I don't think they draft Yves Missy, Kel'el Ware this high. I think this is a spot that they need to trade out of if they are going to draft a big. And I'm looking at a bunch of different options here for all these different teams. And I'm seeing the possibility of a team like Philadelphia moving up for a guard, maybe even Dillingham. I see a possibility of maybe even the Lakers moving up and getting a guy, but the Lakers also need a center. So I think Memphis is going to trade back. With who is a very, very interesting situation for me. I've got two choices. I think Raptors are in a position to trade up just because they have players that are going to be leaving their roster. Emmanuel Quickly, you don't know if you want to bring him back. You bring in Rob Dillingham, boom, you don't have to worry about paying the money. Or Philadelphia, like I previously said. Memphis could also want to move in front of the Lakers to get their pick at center. But I think the Lakers are going to go with a guy that Memphis is not even going to be interested in. So I'm going to go with them trading this pick with the Raptors. I'm just going to send over 19 and 31 for 9. The Raptors could send over Kelly Olynyk and solve their big problems, but Kelly Olynyk could also be moved to the 4, and they still draft a big there. Now with the Grizzlies having 19, 31, and 39, they've got pretty good options there in the first and transitioning into the second. To add some pretty good rotational pieces. And the Raptors can trade up and get their good star guard in Rob Dillingham. Dillingham, offensive beast. Yes, the defense is a question. But I think if you're Toronto, you just need pieces. You just need guys that can go out there and get buckets. And RJ, Scotty, and Robbie could be a very, very good offensive threat. Obviously, with the defense of both Barrett and Rob Dillingham, they need to be worked on. But I think they've got a really good coach over there that can work on it. And, today's going to be a very interesting day for the Raptors. If they want to make a move like this, they would have to be like, okay, we don't want to take too long to rebuild. We just re-signed Scotty Barnes to a super max, or at least a max rookie extension, and we need to get this ball rolling. Rob Dillingham is a guy that can get the ball rolling for the Toronto Raptors. With the Utah Jazz selecting, you're pissed off. You just got one of arguably, the better players in this class with Rob Dillingham get taken off the board right in front of you. Was likely going to fall into your lap if Memphis ended up picking there. Now you're a little bit ticked off, but there's still some good guys here. And I still think that the Utah Jazz go with a guard. My thing is I don't know if it's going to be Nikola Topic or Devin Carter. I think Devin Carter makes a lot of sense just because he has a very long wingspan. He plays bigger than what he actually is. He plays a very well-rounded game. He's a physical point guard and fits into the type of play that the Utah Jazz would need. However, Utah's also got some pretty interesting pieces that can work on their own if Nikola Topic isn't in the lineup day one and slowly gets worked in. And Topic has a little bit of a brighter ceiling. I think Topic is a guy that could try to turn this franchise around, or at least be a piece in turning this thing around. You've got Lauri Markkanen, who's a former All-Star, Colin Sexton, who is a very good scorer, Jordan Clarkson off the bench, Keontae George, who played really good. I'm pretty sure he was all rookie, either first team or second team, but Keontae George played really good. You've got really good 4s and 5 rotations on this team. It's pretty much just who is their guy in Topic or Carter. I think they see the upside in Topic and they go with him at 10. This sucks as a Wizards fan. I would love for the Wizards to have traded up there at 9. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a situation that the Wizards are going to have to give up Kyle Kuzma for picks. And I think they're going to try to get a lottery pick in this year's draft. And Memphis doesn't have the cap space to take that on without Memphis trading away some players that I just don't think they're going to trade away. So with Memphis moving back, they're able to just, get a couple of more picks. Sucks for the Wizards that we can't get another shot at Topic. We were in a really good position too. But don't be shocked if they get aggressive and then they try to make a move up here. But for Utah to get Topic here at 10, massive value. The ACL sucks, but let him rest up and he'll be a dog for you. With the 11th pick, the Chicago Bulls, very, very odd place. I'm just going to take it easy and go with Dalton Connect. This guy can end up being an absolute dog for them year one. I mean, you've got Ayu Dosunmu, Josh Giddey's there now, very questionable fit over there. With Ayu Dosunmu playing good ball, it's very questionable to have him pretty much play behind Giddey or have Giddey play behind him because I think Giddey needs the ball in his hands a little bit more. But Giddey could lead the bench unit really well. Dalton Connect is a starter, though. I'm pretty sure Zach LaVine has got a ton of trade offers on the board. You have DeRozan on his way out. You've got Pat Will on his way out. Dalton Connect is just a way for them to save money. He's an offensive beast. the best 3-level scorer in this class. Gets a lot of things done right. He's got a really good eye for where to put the ball. I mean, not only as a rotator when it comes to swinging the ball on the wing, but also getting into the right places to get some good offensive shots. Really like the game that Dalton Knecht could play over there with the Chicago Bulls. With the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting here at 12, I've got another trade, ladies and gentlemen. This is the trade I think the Wizards are going to make. This could end up not happening now that I'm putting it out there, but I think the Wizards are going to be trading away Kyle Kuzma tonight. Unfortunately for me as a Wizard, I love Kyle Kuzma. A lot of Wizards fan loves Kuzma, but he deserves to be somewhere he can compete. And OKC is that place. I think OKC would send a future 2025 pick. It could be a pick that is highly valued or not as highly valued. They've got a couple of interesting options there for next year. I think they have 4 first-rounders available next year. And then obviously Washington is sending Kyle Kuzma. So au revoir, Kuzma. It's been good. You know, we helped you play like an all-star. You were a dog. I wish he could have been a part of something bigger. But with the age and with the wings that we have on this team, it's just not going to end up working out. All the best, though, because I hope Kuzma can go over there with the Thunder and help them win a ring. That would be music. That would be amazing to watch as a guy who loves Kyle Kuzma. But as a guy who loves the Wizards, I'm loving this trade. So now you're here at 12. You know, you just saw Topic go ahead of you. Dalton Knecht went ahead of you. You don't really need any guys on the wing. You addressed your center position with Sarr. You probably still wouldn't hurt from picking up a big, but I don't see them going with any of the guys here. Definitely not Filipowski, Klintman, Holmes, no. Edey, Missy, Ware. They're kind of irrelevant now that you have Sarr. So you're looking here at the point guard or shooting guard position, looking at the 2 guards. You know, I like some of these guys at the back end of the first round with the Adet, Tyson, Shearman, and Terrence Shannon Jr. But these are guys that I think Wizards are going to consider at 26. Jacoby Walter, Furphy, George, they're just shooter guys, and I don't think we need them. I think we've got our shooters off the bench. I think we're looking here at 2 guys with Devin Carter and Isaiah Collier. And for me, if we're talking about guys that I like more, guys that I think fit into what this team wants more, I think I like Isaiah Collier more than most. Isaiah Collier for me is a top 10 guy. This is, again, like I said earlier with Stephon Castle, if you can tell the type of guards I like stocky guards. I like guards that can get a little physical with the ball and also have a really good eye for playmaking. And yes, Devin Carter, is probably the better player now, but I think Collier's upside is better just because he's a little younger and he brings a different type of offense that the Wizards don't have right now at the point guard position. Jared McCain might be a better prospect for some people, but I think we already got a guy who's going to play Jared McCain-like ball with Jordan Poole. Carlton Carrington, I think, needs a little bit more touch-up. He's got really good size, but isn't too far away from Collier. I think Collier is extremely undervalued on this Fanspo site, and I think is a really good pick here for Washington at 12. With the Sacramento Kings selecting here at 13, I think they go with Ron Holland. I think this is where Ron Holland goes. Holland, phenomenal defensive guy, very, very inefficient on offense, but Sacramento has plenty of that. They just need more defensive guys off the bench, and that can play alongside some of their starters in rotation, and I think Holland can do that very well with his defensive capabilities. Rounding off the lottery, the Portland Trail Blazers select once again here, and at 14, another very interesting situation to talk about bigs. I think they end up going with Tristan Da Silva, though, because Da Silva is a guy who plays really good defense and is a really good 3-level guy, played really good all 4 years at Colorado, and has a very well-rounded game that I think Portland would be interested in adding to their rotation. You know, Cody Williams as the developmental guy, Tristan Da Silva as the, for sure offensive guy that Scoot can get the ball moving to, and hopefully you can get the ball rolling with some of these guys that need to be moved out. Anthony Simons, Rob Will, Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon are all guys that are likely to be moved at all within the next year. And I think having guys like Da Silva and Cody Williams in the wheelhouse already is more of an incentive to get those guys rolling. So you can open up room for some of the young guns to start flourishing. And I think Da Silva would be a very, very good third or fourth option on this team. Hopefully third for his sake. But I think he could be a very, very good piece here for the Portland Trail Blazers. Miami, they need a guard, and they get a pretty damn good one with Devin Carter. Pretty easy. Devin Carter's fallen a little bit in this draft for me. But that's the thing that sucks about having a very talented guard class is that some guys are just going to fall. But with Carter, scored a lot, and he didn't move the ball around as well because he was the main guy over there at Providence, and most of the time it was the ball moving towards him. But for a guy to average 9 rebounds as a 6'2 guard, that just tells you the type of game he plays. Like I said with Isaiah Collier, he plays big. And even though he doesn't seem that thick, with that long wingspan, he plays bigger than what he actually is. I think defensively is the type of guy that Spoelstra would be looking at, and off the bench, Devin Carter could lead a very, very good unit. Or if Miami decides to trade away Jimmy Butler, which is now in talks, if they end up doing that, I think Carter is going to be cracking that starting rotation soon if that ends up happening, and could be a very good piece for them down the line. Either way, you need a guard because Terry Rozier is not the future. I think Devin Carter could be a very, very good piece going into Miami's future. A cloudy one, but one that I think Devin Carter would be a very good piece in building. With the Sixers selecting at 16, I'm going to have them going with Jacoby Walter or Johnny Furphy here because they need guys that can shoot. I'm looking at what they have with the size of Walter. You know, I think you've got good size in Furphy. He's just a really slim guy. Walter coming out of Baylor. We know a little bit more about him. He's more of a 3-and-D guy. Johnny Furphy, we don't really – he's more of a better shooter than he is defender. I think Walter is a better overall player. I'm going to go with him, and I think he fits in as a really good rotational piece. Philadelphia needs to contend, and I think with them not having too good options at point guard, at least that fit in with their future plans, as well as, a big guy that they were looking at was Tristan DeSilva here at 16. With him not being there anymore, I think Jacoby Walter is the next man up. The Lakers picking here at 17, I'm going to have them go with Zach Edey. They need a big body so bad off the bench. They cannot be giving 40 minutes out to Anthony Davis because it is not working for them. They are going to run him into the ground until he gets hurt once again. And I think Edey is a really good guy to just give Davis a breath. And I think could be a really good piece here for the Lakers. And I think is one that they're likely going to make. There's been a lot of rumblings connecting Edey to Los Angeles. And it's a good fit for both of them. With the Magic selecting here at 18, they've got some guards that are going to be leaving here soon. So McCain is automatically a question. I don't think they do it just because they've got Cole Anthony locked down. Jalen Suggs, I don't see him going anywhere. And Anthony Black, they drafted him last year. They want to get those guys more minutes. And I think some guys that could end up being in play here, we start talking about Kyle Filipowski with his offensive capabilities, even though it's not that impressive. I think Kaishan George is a really good option here alongside Furphy, who I mentioned earlier. I also wouldn't be surprised if we start looking at some of these guys like Tyler Smith, who is starting to fall down for no reason. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Smith is here. I wouldn't be surprised if Deron Holmes is in play here, with him being a guy who could eat off the bench for them. I'm going to go with the forward here. I'm going to go with the guy that I think will play a little bit, bigger ball, which is what I think they need. And I'm going to go a little risky here. I'm going to go Deron Holmes. I think Deron Holmes is a really good fit. I think you just need a guy to go out there and be a reliable offensive guy and get some boards. You need to get some boards off the bench. That is the biggest thing I've seen with some of these playoff teams that have hindered with their play, is that they need guys to get boards off the bench, and Deron Holmes can do that. A little bit undervalued here for Fanspo, but I think that's a sensible pick there for Orlando. With Memphis selecting here at 19, you moved back. You wanted to get them there at 9, probably, and you can just sit here and look pretty between Yves Missi and Kel'el Ware. I see them liking Yves Missi a little bit more just because his defense is impeccable. He is arguably the best shot blocker in this draft class. Offense, you're not really getting much, but you don't really need much. Again, you need a physical guy to go out there and get boards. I think Yves Missi is a little bit better fit there than Kel'el Ware, just because of Kel'el Ware's inconsistencies over there at Indiana. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they're going to end up going with the two guards that I mentioned earlier, or with one of the two guards I mentioned earlier, and I think they'll go with Johnny Furphy here. Furphy, really good shooter, pure form. When you watch his tape, it is exactly that. It is pure, and it's pretty watching him, get into his spots and shoot the ball. Very, very good shooter here and would fit in very well with Cleveland. They could go with a point guard here, Jared McCain or Carlton Carrington. I don't see them giving up on Darius Garland just yet, but only time will tell. This is a very safe pick, though, but a very good one for Cleveland with them still wanting to contend. With New Orleans, they got to go with a guard here. I think they go Jared McCain. I see CJ McCollum getting moved alongside Brandon Ingram, and if those two guys leave, I think Jared McCain would be a phenomenal fit. Great value here at 21, and would eat as a rookie. And could score some big buckets there for New Orleans. Phenomenal value there at 21. With the Suns picking at 22, they need a lot. I'm going to have them go with Kel'el Ware because they don't have a good defender and big body off the bench. Like I said with Kel'el, he was a little inconsistent with Indiana, but with Phoenix, I think he could iron out those inefficiencies off the bench alongside a bunch of these big vets, especially a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, been in the league for a while, can help him adjust. Nurkic's play overall isn't that impressive anymore. So Kel'el Ware going in there and providing competition is, I think, something that this Phoenix team needs very badly. Either way, at the end of the day, they need a big body off the bench that is reliable. Kel'el Ware can be that. He just needs to show us that those inconsistencies are out. It needs to show out in the preseason before we get a little bit more confident there. But I think it's a good fit there for him in Phoenix. Milwaukee, they're in a really good position to get a guard too. I think they're also in a really good position to get a backup big. I don't know if I would go with Bona in the first or honestly any of these guys. I think power forward, they could go with a guy who's a little bit better offensively, maybe a little bit more developmental when we start talking about guys like Bobby Klintman. I also wouldn't be surprised if they go with a backup guard because he ain't really got much coming off the bench. And I'm pretty sure their current backup guard was Patrick Beverley, and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So either of these three guards right here could be a really good fit. Nunez, I don't see him going in the first. Kolek and Carrington, those are the two guys I'm bouncing between. They could go with Keyshawn George, Terrence Shannon, maybe. I just think with some of the guys that they already have off the bench that they like, they could bring back some of these guys too. I'm going to go with the higher upside here with Carlton Carrington. Really good build, does a lot of things right. He has a very NBA-ready form from what I've seen and what I've heard from scouts. He just needs to get a little bit more confident with it. You want his field goal percentages to go up, but as a rookie, playing behind Dame Lillard, phenomenal veteran to learn behind, and 4 assists, 5 rebounds is a very good line for a rookie to put up, and you want to see him play that level of ball. Bring the points down if you're able to sacrifice some points, get those assists and rebounds out in the NBA level. This is a guy that's going to be a really good backup guard for Milwaukee that could end up playing a big part into their future. The Knicks managed to acquire Miles Bridges and keep both 24 and 25. I was shocked when I saw that they were able to keep their picks and none of it got touched, and they were able to acquire Miles Bridges. And they're likely to trade away or get rid of either Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson just because of cap casualties. But with all the bigs that I think they would consider off the board, I think they got to go with some guys off the bench that would provide a little bit more help for them. A guy I'm going to go ahead and go with here is Bailey Sherman. Absolute dog for Crichton. Absolute dog. This guy was so good and so fun to watch when I was watching Crichton ball, and he just stands out when you watch him on paper. He fits in so well with the type of offensive guys that they would want over there at New York. And 9 rebounds a game as a shooting guard. Pretty damn good. I like the game that Baylor Shilerman plays. And I think is a guy that would crack the rotation, maybe not the starting rotation, but definitely crack the rotation pretty easily over there with New York. And since they go with a guy that is a little bit more of a win now piece with Baylor, wouldn't be shocked if they go with a little bit of development here. And because of that, I'm going to go with Bobby Klintman here. Big frame, could grow into it. Klintman is a lot like Bilal Coulibaly when we don't know a lot about him, but he's a guy that scouts are in love with. A lot of scouts really like him as a project, and I think with the Knicks having enough pieces in there, and they still want to bring back OG Anunoby with Miles Bridges on their roster, I guess they still have the money to bring back OG. So I think if they are able to still do that, Bobby Clinton would be behind some pretty good forwards. Either way, he's in a good situation. Either get thrown into the G League or just play some minutes off the bench. For a contending team, really good situation for Bobby Clinton to blossom in under a lot of these high caliber guys that are trying to win a championship. Clinton could also maybe even get, I mean, it's weird talking about, the Knicks maybe winning some rings, but after last night's stream, they've got a pretty good squad over there in New York. With the Washington Wizards selecting here at 26, you went with your guard, you got your center. I think like what we went with the Knicks last pick, I think now they go development. I think here they start talking about Bacom Diadet. I think they start talking about Ryan Dunn and the defense that he plays, but he's available here. Shouldn't be available. I'm going to go with Tyler Smith. Great shooter. Really pure form for a guy that's 6'9", 6'10", whatever he ends up measuring at once he comes into the Wizards. Guy who played shooting guard at 6'9" and is pretty much able to guard 2 through 4. Maybe isn't fast enough to keep up with the ones, but a guy that I think could be a very, very good rotational piece, especially with our wings off the bench not being too much to awe at, especially at the power forward position. I think Tyler Smith could be a very good backup power forward for us and just be a spark plug off the bench. And obviously he doesn't want to, he wants to contribute to a winning team. The Wizards aren't going to be winning anytime soon, but for his development, another really good opportunity for him here. And pretty much for all the players I watched in our draft in here, really good opportunities for them to just flourish and play good ball. And I think Tyler Smith can get in that opportunity there with the Wizards. 27, I've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. Not thinking twice about this and going with Ryan Dunn. Phenomenal defense. Doesn't have any offense. He can't shoot at all, but you don't need him to shoot. You've got enough offense. Ryan Dunn is a stud defender, and I think they've got a couple of guys that might be entering free agency that I think he could come in and play really good defense for them. But he is a project for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I think he fits the type of ball that they play very, very well. The Nuggets selecting here at 28, easy. Go with Tyler Kolek. I mean, not really much beyond it. I mean, he seems like such a Nugget. He just seems like the type of player that they love, that they would love, and Tyler Kolek as a backup point guard on the Denver Nuggets is going to be annoying. He's going to be annoying, and he's gonna help Denver continue to play really good ball. It's a phenomenal fit. With Utah selecting at 29, they went with a home run pick at 10, getting Nikola Topic. Now that you're sitting here, you've got good guys, like I said earlier, that were good rotational pieces on the wing, but I still think you could consider going with a forward here. And he's still available. And I like the game that he could end up playing over there in Utah off the bench. Kyle Filipowski, good fit there for Utah, and getting him at 29, not bad value. Really not that bad of value. And rounding off the first round, not the third round. We're not in the NFL, dude. Rounding off the first round with the 30th pick, we've got the NBA champion Boston Celtics. And they've got a plethora of decisions. Really good rotational guys here. They've got their guards locked down for a little bit. Derek White's got 1 year left on his deal, so maybe look towards a guard that could replace him in the future. Also, maybe get a backup center, a backup power forward. As of right now, I think the only guy that they would consider here is Izano Monza, wherever he is. Where is Izano Monza? Is El Monza not in this class anymore? Wait, hold on. Am I missing something? Isano Monza's all the way down to 131? Are you kidding me? Wow. Why? I mean, yeah. But dude, he's got really good defense, though. I think he's got really good defense. He's shown to have really good defense. Okay. Well, I guess Isano Monza doesn't have that. I guess he just doesn't have the hype behind him anymore. I thought Izano Monza there to 30 would have been really good just because he's a really good defensive guy, but I guess scouts aren't really loving him anymore. That's kind of shocking. So that threw me off big time. That makes me think they'll go with a guard then. I think Tyson, maybe even Diadet, if they want to go developmental, would be good guys here. I'm just going to go with the guy that fits the best, and Kaishan George. Good shooter, guy who showed out his freshman year, proved that he didn't need an extra year in the incubator over there at Miami, and just declared. And I think automatically really good rotational piece. You've already got a plethora of guards, but this guy could play 2, 3, and 4 with his size and with his experience at all of those positions. Like this a lot for Boston. And just like that, we have ran through this first round. Very interesting picks here. Let me know what you think about some of these trades. Raptors moving up into the lottery, getting the pick that they ended up trading away with the 8th pick going in front of them. They end up going back into the lottery where they would have been if they kept that pick. And then the Wizards trading up to 12. Some other player-based trades could happen on draft night. I didn't even think about those, but there are some phenomenal fits here and some guys that will likely not go here. Now that I've mocked it, it's going to be completely wrong. The Wizards could end up selecting Bobby Clement second overall for all I know. That's how big of a question mark this draft class is, and that's what's going to make watching it tonight so fun. And tonight, I'm going to be live streaming. And if you want to come through live, you can. Or if you want to just watch the VOD, doesn't matter either way. The video is going to be on here, but I'm going to be live reacting to the first round of the draft. If I didn't say that earlier, I wanted to make sure I get that out now because I am going to be doing that tonight. I'm going to be going live. Like I said, I'm going to be posting up my big board right before the draft and looking at that, reacting to that alongside a lot of these other picks. But all eyes on these 30 players or 30 players that could not end up, cracking the top 30 when it comes to actual draft night. But we'll have to wait until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or wherever the hell you are to find that out. So thank you guys so much for watching. Happy draft day. Like I said, encourage you to go out, do a mock draft of your own. You don't even have to do the full first round. You can just do the lottery here on Fanspo. Get yourself familiar with this draft class. I will see y'all later tonight right here on YouTube. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and following over on Spotify. Like, share, do whatever you need. And I will see y'all tonight. Happy draft day, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.